Hello and welcome to Moneylife. This is Sucheta Dilal. As we head to the budget, naturally, this video is about the Union Budget 2025. What is it going to do for us? Will it lead to ease of living, which most of us, most of you who are watching this video want, or are we in for more disappointment? As India gears up for this particular budget on 1st February, remember, it is the first full budget of the third term of the NDA. By now, all the lofty slogans and promises of Viksit Bharat are looking rather hollow. In fact, we were promised a decade of rapid progress. The middle class said, put up with every kind of hardship because we are getting ahead. We're going to be a developed country. But the middle class, which is considered the backbone of the national economy, continues to grapple with poor quality of life on most counts: health, education, water, environment, urbanization. Things are getting more expensive, and the cracks in the grand narrative of development are becoming hard to ignore. Think about it. Your daily life, how does it look? Despite 2 terms of infrastructure expansion, the whole 10 years under the NDA, ordinary citizens are left to face the fallout of poor planning, bridges that don't meet, delays, subpar construction, bad roads, increase in project costs, in fact, repeated increases in large infrastructure projects where somebody wins a bid based on a competition, and then the winner is constantly increasing the cost, and we just quietly pay up. Then there's a question of last mile connectivity. So a train starts, or a bridge, or a metro, and there's no connectivity to actually take you to your office or your home, because the last mile connectivity is something that nobody thinks about. If they build a spanking new bridge or road, it is only for cars. There's no thought about public transport and making full use of it. Consequence is grossly insufficient systems of all kinds, relentless construction, unchecked traffic chaos, and all this has now led to poor air quality, dangerously bad air quality in most metros. In the middle of all these structural inefficiencies, the economic burden on the middle class is getting heavier because they are making us pay more and more taxes. The rupee is continuing to slide, inflation is soaring, and taxation is so high, direct and indirect, that it's actually eroded disposable incomes of families to the point that it is now reflecting in the balance sheets of large listed companies. Families have had to scale back on consumption, and they're struggling under the sharp increase of non-collateralized personal loans. Yeah, this is a dangerous trend that's worrying the Reserve Bank of India. You don't have money, you want to keep spending, so you borrow expensively, there's no collateral, and people are on the verge of default. In fact, consumption after all this has now turned very muted. And this is, like I said earlier, showing in sluggish revenue numbers. Even the buoyant capital market, which ever since COVID was the shining beacon for the past 4 years, has faltered. And remember, 9 out of 10 investors of our 100 million investors have come in post-COVID. A majority of them have only ever seen a bull market, maybe a couple of blips. They are grappling with losses, panic, uncertainty, because this time the market is continuing its decline. The disenchantment is finally making people wonder whether all the slogans that had inspired hope in the last 10 years, Make in India, Swachh Bharat, Achhe Din, ease of living, where have they gone? Have they really led to any improvement in the quality of our lives? In crowded urban India, people are dealing with all the manifestations of a sharp increase in corruption, just the opposite of na khaunga, na khane dunga. In fact, corruption is so bad that no official cares. We have bad roads, public places are encroached with impunity more and more. There's no public transport, and like I said before, poor municipal services, lack of air quality because of constant construction. At the same time, there's a feeling that we are paying higher tolls Yes, tolls keep going up because they always have an excuse for why it should continue even when the cost is recovered. Higher tolls, cess on all kinds of services, fees, which keep increasing, and of course, taxes. You know, all the controversy over popcorn and the cream bun. We don't need to go into it. There's seemingly no reciprocation from the state. In most countries which have high taxes, the state gives you some form of social security and takes care of healthcare and education to a great extent. Not in India. In fact, healthcare costs can bankrupt you. People who have children and want them to go to good schools know how expensive it is to have a child. The transformative benefits of technology have been there for us. They have made life different. They've simplified payments. You can buy things and get them delivered at home. Terrific. But it's a double-edged sword because there's an alarming rise in cybercrime. In fact, try calling anyone on a prepaid number. The government is endlessly warning people. Why? Because of the soaring cybercrime, which has often eaten up the entire savings of people who don't understand how technology works. These crimes are rooted in social engineering tactics. And what are they doing? They're exploiting regulatory overreach that allows authorities, RBI, banks, SEBI, to cripple you by imposing financial hardships or what we call financial death by just freezing your savings account or trading account for something as simple as resubmission of Know Your Customer documents. Many of them don't even bother to facilitate it by making it online. They don't give you warnings. You only get to know of it when your account is frozen. This is why when people call you up and say your accounts will be frozen or you would be arrested, people are naturally scared and they believe that this is someone in authority because all our authorities, all our regulators and investigation agencies behave with impunity and justice is a distant dream. So what does it do to ease of living? The taxpayers, which is the salaried class, pays the most and they are most affected. In fact, actually the whole middle class, but especially the salaried class who have very few ways of avoiding tax. They shoulder the twin burdens of high direct taxes on their income and all the indirect taxes on consumption. 18%, 28% GST on everything, including your electricity bill, your telephones, your healthcare. Policymakers respond to their complaints by pointing out there are hardly any taxpayers. Only 80 million Indians filed taxes in 23-24, and 63% of these actually filed returns to get refunds. They had no tax liability. But this obscures the fact, very conveniently, that direct tax collections have surged 180% in the last decade of the NDA, and now direct tax collections are higher than corporate tax. So let's not say we are not paying tax. You can't keep punishing that same group of people, in fact, a much smaller group than 80 million, and extract more and more from them because GST keeps increasing. Everybody pays it, whether you're a taxpayer or not, in addition to the direct taxpayers. Instead of exercising fiscal prudence or attempting to rein in government expenditure, political parties across the spectrum have embraced reckless subsidies and freebies in order to win elections. And government spending on the PR displays of every function have gone up. This discontent is no longer easy to divert. You can't tell people all this is part of progress. Look at us. Look at how we are shining. No, people are not ready to believe it anymore. Even the divisive Hindu-Muslim rhetoric is not working as well as before. All of it was designed to shift focus away from socio-economic issues. There's an urgent need for the government now to outline policies that focus on employment generation and job creation. The budget is the one which usually signals the path to such change. But there's no such indication happening. Instead, we have a new distraction. What is that? Have more children. If anything, the latest narrative urging people to have more children seems alarmingly out of touch with people's aspirations. It's almost as though our politicians and, of course, the bachelors in RSS don't even seem to know what is the cost of raising a child. So Rashtriya Swayam Sevak Sangh Chief Mohan Bhagwat and a couple of chief ministers have invoked declining fertility rates as a rationale for telling people have more children, have 3 children. The data tells you a completely different story and an embarrassing story. India remains the world's most populous country with 1.4 billion people, and this is not an honor. We are in no danger of losing that dubious distinction. Doesn't matter what the RSS may say. In fact, the only real implication is that when fertility rates are falling, the rate at which our population is growing is going to slow down. So it's a long time, not even in the foreseeable future, when population comes down, and we need a smaller population in order to have roads, in order to have quality of life. Now, there's another distinction. Economically backward states, sorry to say, many of them in North India, have the fertility rates that are above 2.1, which is above the replacement level. It is the southern states which have fallen below replacement level, and these have much higher per capita income. In fact, look at the numbers. India has 234 million people, the highest in the world, living in poverty in 2024. We are not addressing that. We are instead saying have more children. Our unemployment remains high. 810 million Indians need government to give free rations just to survive. Without addressing these issues, we have the RSS and a couple of chief ministers saying, have more children. Mr. Bhagwat's claim that people need to have 3 kids in order to avoid the problems of countries like Japan and Korea is also contradictory. Problems of Japan and Korea actually stem from a certain work culture that is being controversially advocated by the likes of N.R. Narayanmurthy, founder of Infosys, the chairman of Larsen and Toubro, S.N. Subramaniam, and several other chief executive officers who probably received a phone call and have been echoing this. Work 70 hours, work 100 hours. Why do you need to stare at your wife on Sunday? But it's 100% contradiction. This is why women in Japan and China, China also, and Korea said we would rather not have families, and they're facing low fertility rates. So can larger families and long working hours go together? I mean, who is going to silence this kind of distractive, pointless noise when the issues that we face are completely different? The RSS, remember, is important. It's not that one Mr. Bhagwat is speaking out. The RSS is the ideological lodestar of the BJP. And the two need to clarify, have more children is meant for all Indians, or is it only to prevent the shrinking of a Hindu population because they think Hindus are not going to have children? Meanwhile, N. Chandrababu Naidu in Andhra Pradesh and M.K. Stalin have similar sentiments, probably for different reasons. Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu have lower fertility rates, about 1.73, below replacement. They have significantly high per capita income than the northern states. This means that southern states are contributing more to the exchequer. That money goes to the northern states, and they have lower representation in parliament. It's a serious problem. But instead of pushing for an equitable solution to this problem, having it addressed, having a debate, the two chief ministers think the solution is to make South India the same kind of overpopulated, poor mess as the North. Because note what is Mr. Chandrababu Naidu's solution. He wants to offer more subsidized rice to people and families who have 3 children. Throwing a bit of rice, subsidized rice, is the cost of bearing and bringing up one child. If what else do you need to prove how disconnected our politicians are from the needs of and aspirations of people, especially of women? People want better education for their children. They want better lives, not subsidized rice. And subsidized rice is not even nutrition. As political leaders echo the RSS chief's rhetoric, critical questions remain unanswered because nobody wants to focus on them. These are, how will India tackle increased unemployment? How will we deal with resource scarcity if we're going to populate the country more? What do we do about deepening poverty when we are already embarrassingly the country with the largest number of poor people? No answers. Will the union budget offer relief to the middle class in the form of genuine ease of living? We don't know, there are no such signals. So the point is, will we continue the trend of extracting more taxes from that same small pool of people and provide nothing in return? And will those people keep quiet and deal with it because they don't have a choice? With no clear policy framework or credible vision, the growing gap between promises and reality is beginning to fuel a sense of betrayal. The union budget is not just an opportunity to address these concerns, it's a litmus test for whether the government can still inspire confidence in its citizens. If you agree, please remember this: we, the middle class, are not a vote bank. Hence, our opinion doesn't matter much. So, unless you make a noise, make people understand the dangers of all this distracting rhetoric, and focus on the core issues that are important to us, things are not going to change. If you agree, please share and subscribe to this video. Thank you.